In the world where intelligent people are followers and ignorant people are leaders, ignorance will lead to nowhere. Coming up, Joburg Mayor Dada Morero made a shocking statement where he said JMPD should hire foreign nationals to fight crime in Joburg. Wow. Check this out.
Comrade Chair, Deputy Chair, I always ask this question, that none of our policemen and women in uniform can speak any of the foreign African languages. And the challenge is for us to deal with crime. And you can have all your suspects here. Before they write their statements, they can plan what they are going to say in front of you without you even hearing what they are saying. It might be a culture shock to suggest to this REC that if we are serious about fighting crime in Ward 67, we have no option. But those that are properly documented, with proper documents, can be recruited to the Johannesburg Metro Police Department.
Thanks to Panyaza Lesufi, who had to jump in to stop this craziness. Not only was this the craziest idea I've ever heard, the mayor obviously couldn't even bother checking the requirement of joining JMPD. What is required of those candidates for one to join JMPD, where the requirements stated very clear that you must be a South African citizen, something that our mayor didn't bother looking at before he opens his mouth. Thanks to Panyaza Lesufi's tweet, which was viewed over 1 million times in a short space of time, by the way, where Panyaza was saying, no, we totally disagree with that idea. And of course, he apologized on behalf of the ANC. And our mayor realized that, and he ran to ENCA trying to do damage control. But boy, oh boy, it was way too late. Check this out.
The priority is to perhaps sort out crime, because Johannesburg is the most dangerous city in South Africa. So are you trying to say that perhaps documented foreign nationals should be hired because of the language barrier that police officers in JMPD face when they arrest undocumented persons or those committing crimes from other African countries? Was that the thought process?
The thought in the statement would have meant that, but unfortunately the discussions that we have entered in felt that at the current state in which we're experiencing high levels of unemployment and so on and so on, the view was that let's find other alternative methods to help us address the language barrier, which may mean taking officers for training. It may mean that at certain instances, as the courts already do, have interpreters to help us to deal with some of the matters. You know, in the courts, a case can prolong because we still have to go through a process of procuring somebody who understands French or any other language, whether Ndebele or Shona, which cannot be understood by South African courts, and they will then procure. So the similar process the Lekgotla would have said, perhaps let's look at those as options, as opposed to probably having a few in the system who are able to speak those languages.
So was that decision parked? That's not something that you've adopted or said, okay, let's look into this. You've decided to say, actually, South Africans being hired are the priority.
No, that's what the Lekgotla said, and the Lekgotla is specific, and we are not thinking two ways for now.
But why would you make that suggestion, Mr. Morero, in the first place?
Well,
given...
I think perhaps I should have made the suggestion in a normal environment or in a normal society. And it is informed about the development of other cities in the world, whether it's New York or metropolitan cities in the world where they have this inclusion, so that it helps them to effectively deal with crime and criminals.
So myopic, so short-sighted. And he's our mayor. Imagine that. What I found so shocking about this whole thing, about Dada Morero statement, is that the guy couldn't even bother looking at the requirements, JMPD requirements of employment, that in case you wanna join JMPD, what are the requirements? And those requirements are freely available on an internet, on JMPD websites. You would simply just Google that thing. That's how basic the guy was supposed to do. That's the basic information that guy was supposed to do. But I couldn't even bother just doing just basic research, so that when you make a speech, you bring something substantial, well-researched information on the table. That's exactly what happens if you employ people with metric, put them in a position of power where they have to handle and make such huge decisions. Well, it seems like Joburg has been having a trail of incompetent mayors. You remember Tapelo Ahmed, a guy with the 9.5 billion scandal? Well, he couldn't survive. He was there for a few days, then of course he was dismissed. A matriculant who couldn't construct a single sentence in English. Of course, he had to be dismissed and replaced by another matriculant, my man, Kabelo Kwamanda. You remember this guy? Another matriculant who was totally clueless. Okay, at least he survived for a couple of months. And then, of course, until the ANC had to declare a motion of no confidence against him, only to replace him with yet another guy who's equally incompetent. That's Dada Morero, who has just shocked us with a statement of employing foreign nationals into JMPD. Imagine that. After realizing his blunder, has since apologized. But the damage is already done.
So today's media conference is convened to respond to the concerns centered around my proposal in relation to resolving language barriers and challenges which are confronted by our law enforcement agencies. The comments I made were to the effect that the City of Johannesburg might have to consider recruiting qualified and properly documented foreign nationals into the JMPD to assist with bridging the language barriers which frustrate the work of our police when investigating crimes involving foreigners. I shared these views in order to inspire debate in the Lekgotla, which is a platform for ANC leaders to consider with open-mindedness all options available to resolve challenges facing our people. Having debated my proposal, the Lekgotla came to the conclusion that the recruitment of foreign nationals into the JMPD or any of the security cluster for that matter is both undesirable and unattainable in the wake of the high levels of unemployment crisis in South Africa, including the challenges on migration and in-migration. The Lekgotla resolved that we should instead train our officers to be proficient in foreign languages that are dominant in areas with the highest concentration of specific groups of foreign nationals. The Lekgotla, however, accepted the concern that language barriers frustrate police work as valid and legitimate. Upon further reflection, I have come to the conclusion that my suggestion was not consistent with the policies of the ANC and policies of government. I therefore unconditionally withdraw my proposal and apologize for the anxiety it might have caused to the residents of Johannesburg and the people of South Africa as a whole. And let me conclude by saying the instructions of the Lekgotla are clear that the proposal by the regional chair has been rejected and the Lekgotla has resolved on the way forward on this matter, and I will therefore not entertain any further debates in as far as this proposal is concerned. Thank you.
The caliber of leaders that you have placed in your city, in your country, even in your company determines how far that city, that country, and that company will go. Case in point, if you look at our two previous mayors, Tabelo Kwamanda and Tapelo Ahmed, if you look at those two mayors and you look at where Joburg is right now and how rotten Joburg is, you're not surprised that Joburg is where it is right now. Exactly my point. And when you look at our current mayor, Dada Morero, and you look at the stunt he just pulled right now, what he just said, now, you know, at least I know already, that Joburg is not going anywhere, at least not anytime soon. The status quo will remain. The rot and corruption in Joburg is not going to change, not anytime soon. I still dream of a day where in South Africa, leaders will be deployed and selected and be put in position based on their capabilities, their competency, their qualification, and ethical leadership. And I still believe the GNU has got something up its sleeves. What do you think? Let me hear your comment below. And if it's your first time, don't forget to subscribe.